oh my, a kiss, and so I did.
Hey lovies, what the Rudge is up fam? If you're new here, my name is Terry Ann or TA and you are watching my channel. I am a Boston-based lifestyle YouTuber and this is my 5 to 8 week pregnancy update. I'm glad that I remembered to do this today because I'm actually dressed and I think the sun's gonna start going down soon, so I'm gonna try to do this as efficiently as possible. But this is kind of like a significant update from the last video. So the last video I made, I thought I was about like anywhere from like 3 to 4-ish weeks pregnant. And I've been going to the doctor a lot more since then and found out that I was a little bit, I thought I was more pregnant than I actually was. So before I get into everything, I'm just gonna go through my specific symptoms. In terms of symptoms, I've had some really typical standard run-of-the-mill symptoms, except for one. And it was a symptom that I mentioned in my last video, and it is light bleeding or spotting. In my last video, I was just like, well, I did this and I went to the doctor. My Hcg levels had increased and then it kind of stopped. So we had attributed it to implantation bleeding, but it was not implantation bleeding. I continued to bleed off and on up until 2 weeks ago, actually. And it was really scary every single time. And there was one time in particular where I like walked down the stairs of my building and got in the car and a rush of blood came out, like, and it was dark red. And it was really, really scary. And I've had to just kind of like trust a lot that everything's okay. So after that first initial bleeding, I bled again. It was pretty light. It was kind of like the same like the first time. And I went back to my doctor and they gave me a blood test. I got that blood test on a Friday. And they were just like, if you experience any cramping with this bleeding, you should just go to the ER because they wouldn't be open over the weekend and I wasn't gonna get my blood test results back until that Monday. And later that day, I did bleed more and I experienced cramping with it as well. So Mike and I went to the ER. And we were there from like 5 o'clock until like almost midnight. They ran all of these tests, like so many different kinds of tests. Everything came back perfect. All my blood work came back perfect. My Hcg levels had skyrocketed. I think he said it was like 17,000 is the number. And the last time I had gotten my blood test done, it was like 500. So the pregnancy was clearly progressing and I got my first ultrasound at that exam when I was in the ER. But it was so early on in my pregnancy, they said that I was like 5 weeks and 3 days at that time. I was so early on in my pregnancy that you couldn't even really see anything. You could see the yolk sac, but you couldn't see like a heart. There was no heartbeat yet. You couldn't even see like the baby. So after that ER visit, I had to go back to my own doctor for a follow-up. So they sent all the information, all the tests that they did to my own doctor. And the following week, like almost exactly a week later, like that following Thursday, I went to my doctor for a follow-up and they also gave me an ultrasound and additional blood work. So that ultrasound was a week later. So it was like 6 weeks. And there was a heartbeat that time, which was super comforting because in between the time that I went to the hospital, I was bleeding off and on just a little bit, but not as much as the time when I went to the hospital. So I went to the ER, I was bleeding heavily. By the time I was in the ER, I had kind of stopped bleeding. And when I say heavily, it's like a light flow. I wouldn't consider it spotting. I had mild cramping with it, but there was no clotting in the blood, and that's something that they say you should also look out for. So my follow-up, at that point, I was spotting like a tiny bit. There was no real flow there. There was a heartbeat, but the heartbeat was 99. So they were like, okay, this heartbeat is on the slower side. So they wanted me to come back for another follow-up the following week because they were like, it could be slow because the baby's heart just started beating because it was so early still. And so they were like, they're gonna come back next week for another follow-up, and hopefully the heartbeat is higher. But at that follow-up, at that initial follow-up appointment, they were like, everything looks okay. We don't see a reason why you're bleeding. And they were just like, it's possible that you're just part of the 25% of people who bleed during pregnancy. At this point, like in between all of these doctor visits, I'm at home doing research, like just reading anything that I can. I started learning about subchorionic hematomas and just other kinds of hematomas in which women who are pregnant experience massive bleeding with like large clots, major cramping, just like a ton of bleeding, like filling more than a pad an hour, which is not what I was experiencing. But these women had these hematomas, and once they get it out of their system, the baby's totally fine. They go on to deliver a totally healthy baby, and it's not a miscarriage. Obviously, this whole time that I'm bleeding, I'm thinking I'm losing the baby. But luckily, that has not been the case. So after that initial follow-up where we heard the heartbeat, well, I didn't hear the heartbeat. We could only see it flashing on the screen, and Michael wasn't able to come with me for these because they had a policy where he couldn't be there. The following week, I went back to the doctor. This is about week 7 now. This is the Thursday before our wedding, so it was July 23rd. July 23rd, I went back to the doctor for the second follow-up, and I was very, very scared because I was just like, if the baby's heart rate doesn't increase, it kind of means that like there's a high percentage that I'm probably going to lose the baby. And I was like, that will be a really hard thing to learn 2 days before my wedding. I was just like, I don't know how I would be able to get through the wedding and be like happy. Luckily, I went to the follow-up appointment, and the baby's heartbeat was at 139, and they said for how far along I was, that was perfect. It was great. And everyone was really happy. No one more happy than myself and Mike. We were really relieved. Again, they checked everything, and they did my blood test again. All of my levels were increasing. I was extremely healthy. I've been taking my prenatals every day. I've been taking additional iron supplements because I am anemic. And then, yeah, they were just like, again, there's no real reason that they could see on the ultrasound why I could be bleeding, but the baby looked fine and okay. And from what they could see, everything was normal. And I just might be one of those women who bleed a little bit in pregnancy. So I had a total of 3 ultrasounds before the real ultrasound that you're supposed to have. So in a normal pregnancy, you pee on a stick and you're like, oh, I'm pregnant, and they don't schedule you out for an appointment until you're 8 weeks pregnant. That's supposed to be the first time you see your baby is at 8 weeks pregnant. Obviously, because I had bleeding early on, I kept going to the doctor, and to be cautious and to be on top of it, they gave me ultrasound. So I had 3 ultrasounds before my 8-week appointment. So my 8-week appointment was the Thursday after my wedding. So 1 week after the confirmation of the heartbeat. Michael was able to come in with me. I got to see my OBGYN, the doctor who would be delivering the baby and everything, and sat down in there and did a transvaginal ultrasound, and the baby's heartbeat was there. It was present. It was perfect. I did bleed a little bit at my rehearsal dinner that Friday after the confirmation of the heartbeat, and I bled a little bit on my wedding day. Nothing crazy. I would say that that was more spotting than light bleeding, thank goodness, because I don't know if I could have handled that on those days, but it was just spotting on those 2 days. And then Mike and I, after the wedding, we went on our mini moon to New York, and we walked around a lot, and I spotted a little bit there during our mini moon, but it was super light. And then I wasn't bleeding at all during the week leading up. Mike just burped.
Oh, sorry. I know you're...
Yeah.
Ollie.
So we went to our honeymoon, our mini moon, and we walked around a lot. I didn't really bleed much at all during that trip, even though we were walking around a ton. And then had that 8-week appointment. My doctor did the ultrasound. Mike was there. You could see a little heartbeat flashing. Honestly, whenever I see that baby's heartbeat on the monitor, I get so happy. Like, we haven't actually heard it yet because they said that it transmits too much energy to the baby and it's like so small. They want to like reduce as much energy to it as possible. So, but every time I see it flashing, like I breathe a sigh of relief because like it is so stressful. So the 8-week ultrasound was great. They were, again, said there's nothing that they could see that could be causing this. I don't have a hematoma. There's nothing really there. I'm just probably one of those people who bleeds during pregnancy. The baby looks great. Everything looks good. So I haven't bled since a few days before that 8-week appointment. And right now, today, I am 9 weeks and I think 2 days along. I'm feeling pretty good. So that has been my biggest and most stressful first trimester symptom, because I'm 9 weeks now, so I'm in the last month of my 3rd trimester, and so I'm really getting closer to the end of this first trimester, and I'm ready to be out of this first trimester and into the 2nd trimester. But I really wanted to talk about the bleeding because while it was happening to me, I was just searching for any kind of information. And what I was finding, I found only 2 types of bleeding, which was 1, women who were bleeding and it led into a miscarriage, and 2, women who were bleeding specifically because they had a subchorionic hematoma or some sort of hematoma. I did not experience anyone talking about light bleeding or spotting and it just being nothing. People talked about it being implantation bleeding, but that wasn't what it was for me. It was just bleeding. So if you are 4 weeks pregnant, 5 weeks pregnant, 6 weeks pregnant, and you're like, I'm bleeding, I don't know why, and you're scared, I just want to break a few things down for you and give some information that I wish I had. But I think for my mental health, being really proactive about things really helped me. So like, as soon as something happened, I called my doctor's office, and I didn't care if I was being annoying or anything, and they were super nice and super understanding. They brought me in for blood tests, and I would just be kind of insistent on that. If your doctor's office is closed, go to the ER. I feel like it's better safe than sorry, I guess, even though there's not much that they could do. But it was just like a lot of like, it eased my mind for sure. And so like, I feel like if you're experiencing something like that, just go to your doctor's office and, oh my God, what is happening? So yeah, just go to the ER and run those tests. It'll be fine. Just get those tests to ease your mind. Make sure that your Hcg levels are increasing. And then there are other things that they can test to make sure that your body is compatible with your pregnancy. And that's part of the blood test as well. That was something they did for me. But just stay on top of it. Go to the doctor, advocate for yourself, for your baby. And yeah, so that was just bleeding. In my last video, I also said that luckily I wasn't really having any other real pregnancy symptoms. That changed. That changed for real for me. I would say around, it was a month ago, so around the end of week 5, going on into week 6, I started to have food aversions and nausea. I was getting ready to go to one of my final wedding dress fittings, and I went to Starbucks to get a croissant ham and cheese sandwich, and I was so excited, and I got the sandwich and I bit into it and I immediately had to spit it out. That was my first experience with not being able to eat something And then shortly thereafter, it really evolved into full-on nausea. And that was terrible. It was so bad, you guys. It started off really mild. It was just like, I can't eat that. Ooh, I don't feel like eating that. To waking up in the morning and having only like 30 minutes before the nausea set in and being nauseous literally all day long. My nausea was not cute. It was not just in the morning. It was like for like most of the day, I felt super nauseous, and I would feel more nauseous if I didn't eat, but also everything I ate made me feel sick. So like, unfortunately at my wedding, I like could not deal. I was like good all day in the morning for whatever reason, like, and I for me, fresh fruit was something that I could eat and not get sick of. But like, I couldn't really eat the cake. We did like the whole cake cutting. No one at my wedding really knew that I was pregnant except for like my friends and my bridal party and, you know, our parents. And so like Mike had to get a little piece of cake, and I like took a small bite because I could not do it. I couldn't eat my meal at the wedding. I took a bite of it and I could taste that it was so good, but it like made me so nauseated that I couldn't eat that. Our mini moon in New York, I really struggled to eat a lot of the fancy meals that we had planned. I could only have a few bites of things, and smells really bothered me. But knock on wood, like, fingers crossed, as of the last few days, maybe 3 or 4 days, my symptoms have totally faded. And I got scared. I was just like, is that normal? Is it okay for your symptoms to go away? Because I thought, is something wrong with the baby or something? But I did research, and my mom said it, and my sister said it too. It's super normal for a while for your symptoms to just fade away, which is good, because I had heard a lot of girls who said their nausea lasted until like week 15, week 16 of the second trimester. And you know, they had a longer period of nausea. But I was miserable while I was nauseous, and nothing really helped. Crackers helped like one day, but then the next day the crackers made me nauseous. And I had ginger beer that I really liked, but sometimes drinking the ginger beer would make me nauseous. And like water would help me, but then sometimes just the taste of water in my mouth made me nauseous. Like, it got to the point where sometimes like I was like brushing my teeth like 4 times, 5 times a day because I didn't like the flavor of the last thing I ate in my mouth. It was super uncomfortable, you guys. I am kind of glad to be out of that. The past few days I've just been back to eating. My appetite is up. I'm definitely gaining weight. My clothes are already not fitting, which is, I wasn't expecting to kind of like start sizing out of my clothes so quickly, but I am eating. I am not I am not eating, I'll tell you that. Which is my other symptom. I'm hungry a lot, but not as bad as I was in the first trimester. I remember, or on the first trimester, in my first update video, I remember I said that I was just like so hungry I thought I could die. I'm not really like that anymore, but I definitely have an appetite that I, to be honest, never really had prior to pregnancy. So I have been eating all my meals and meals in between, you know, snacks and stuff. So other than that, I guess the other symptom that I have that's been consistent from the moment I got pregnant till now is fatigue. I'm super tired. I nap every single day. I go to sleep super early. I wake up tired. I am just super tired. But I totally get it. Like, my body is building a person in there, and so you just get tired. And yeah, that's it. That's totally it for my symptoms. I think for the most part, my symptoms are very normal, but except for the bleeding, which they say about 25% of women experience the kind of bleeding that I'm experiencing. I don't know when this video is going to go up, but there's a lot going on in our lives other than this pregnancy. Because I am pregnant now, I think we had plans to stay in this apartment for a while. And then after you get pregnant, you kind of start to be more realistic about things. And we realized that this building is not the best building for a baby. We do not have a washer or dryer in unit here, and when you have a baby you do like a crap ton of laundry. We have to start thinking about childcare and just comfort levels. This apartment, we love it. It's great for the two of us and these two cats, but the temperature regulation, there really is none. It gets super hot upstairs in the summer, and extremely cold in the winter because of the high ceilings. It's really hard to heat and cool. And this is an older building. It's not professionally managed either. There's no elevator in this building, so we walk up like 4 flights of stairs to get to this apartment. And realistically, like having a kid is just going to be kind of a huge struggle. So we are going to be moving. I think maybe by the time this update video goes up, there'll be some sort of a vlog about that, fingers crossed. But we are going to be moving back to my home state of Connecticut. So I will definitely take you guys along on that journey. If you're not subscribed to the channel already, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and turn on post notifications, so that you can kind of stay on top of that, because I'm going to be doing a moving vlog and an empty apartment tour and setting up the nursery and just kind of getting you guys established in our new life as a family. Should I do like a belly thing? I don't have a belly, you guys. There's nothing really there. I just look like I'm bloated all the time. There is no real belly. But as soon as I start getting a belly, I'll show you for sure. That's it. I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye.